that's something I never understood about my dad. He would lie to us, but not enjoy the lie by going, at any point. He would lie, we'd believe it, and that would be his enjoyment.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this. I had an Uncle Frank from Wales who lived opposite Nine, right? And he used to work in a colliery, and he chopped one of his fingers off. And as a kid, I was intrigued by the fact that he had a finger missing here. And he was lovely, but a very straightforward, simple man.
Yeah.
And his catchphrase with me was "Giz a kiss, la," and he'd give me a hug and give me a kiss. "Giz a kiss, la."
Yeah.
So he spent his whole life down the mine. He chopped his finger off down the mine. I was in Shrewsbury long after Uncle Frankie was. Long after his death, I was at home with my parents. My dad in retirement now. We went to Shrewsbury, me and my dad, for lunch. And we were sitting down in the park. And in Shrewsbury, there's this huge private school on a hill where Charles Darwin went. Do you know of it? And sort of an illustrious private school for 150 years. And we're sitting there, and I went, "It's an amazing building, actually, because it's actually on a hill overlooking the River Severn. It's incredible, you know." So it's amazing that school, isn't it? He goes, yeah. He goes, you wouldn't believe your Uncle Frank went there, would you? And I went, "Fuck off." And he went, "He did." I went, "Fuck off, Dad. Frank worked down a mine and he chopped his finger off down there." He goes, "I know, he did end up in the mines, but I'm telling you, he had he run a scholarship and he had a first-rate private education." I went, "This is horseshit." He went, "I'm telling you." I went, "Well, let's just leave it then." So we carried on our date. Maybe 3 hours later, we're driving back to my folks' house, and my dad's got a cousin, Gordon, who's still alive and is a hilarious man. And he ran a carpet shop in Shrewsbury. And my dad goes, "Oh, hey, let's nip in and see Gordon." This is 3 hours after the Frank story.
Yeah.
And Frank was Gordon's dad.
Right.
So we go into the carpet shop, and Gordon had a little area where they used to go for a fag. So they were having a fag, and we were there for an hour, chatting away. They were chatting away, bringing me cans of Coke or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he wasn't. What am I talking about? I'm in my 30s. I probably had a coffee as well. And then as we're leaving the shop, after an hour, we're literally going out. The doors tinkled, and my dad goes, Hey, Frank, before I go any further, Gordon, I'm going to turn away from you because I don't want to influence you in any way." He goes, "Tell Greg, where did your dad go to school?" And Gordon went, "Wow, I mean, God, for all the good it did him, he went to the big private school on the hill, didn't he?" And I went, "Fucking hell, did he?" He goes, yeah, he won a scholarship and he went there, of course, but life changed and he ended up down the mines, but that's where he went, all right. And I went, bloody hell. Cut to, it must be 10 years later, my dad's now dead. Gordon tells me that my dad had rang him from the park, and said, "In about 2 hours, I'm going to come in. And I want you to tell Greg that Frank went to that school." And my dad didn't even live to enjoy the life.
Yeah, but see, that's the majesty of that.
Incredible, isn't it?
Isn't it beautiful? No one dies until the memory does. It's just something so majestic about, because the laugh you get, is there a deeper, lovelier laugh than your dad's passed away and he's got you?
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's
you
beautiful.
Bastard.
Yeah. And presumably it feels like your dad was one of those guys. There must be thousands of those.
Yeah.
And therefore,
I don't know what's true.
Them. Yeah.
I don't know. I sort of feel like my life's been like the Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just so many lies have been told to me, and I've lived this existence.
Do you feel like you are lucky, or do you just have incredible sort of powers of recall? Because you've got so many stories about friends and family. Did you just have that skill as a young kid?
I think you just ate one of your parents, don't you, Russ? And my dad was a big raconteur.
Yeah.
Your
dad was an incredible
big
man.
Story. You met him? Of course you met him.
Of course we did. Yeah. And what was the glorious quote, wasn't it? You tried to get him to
he's
see
a perfectly nice young man, but I don't want to see his fucking show.
Exactly. It was so great. And I'd spent a good hour with him in Birmingham. Remember that?
Yeah.
In the start.
And he really did enjoy your company.
I know. That was it. That's why I was so certain. And I said, "Hey, tell your dad he can come to the show," because we clicked. And then you were avoiding me. And I said, how come your dad's not been in? And then you finally fessed up.
Yeah.
And what a glorious way of saying no. He's a perfectly nice young man, but I don't want to see his fucking show.
But that wasn't, anything
No,
to
no,
do with your show. That was
Nah.
about him had got to an age where he didn't want to do anything,
Fuck
really.
yeah. Well, the next thing involves your dad, doesn't it?
I was home last week and I asked my mum if his 1970s swimming trunks still exist because
Yeah.
they are just evocative of our summer holidays.
Mm.
I mean, they in themselves are not significant, but I have this really. My sister and I invented a game. We used to go to the south of France every summer, right? And we couldn't afford it. My dad just used to teach a rich woman. And she used to let us go to her place in the south of France.
All right.
So we'd drive across France because we couldn't even afford the train at the time. We'd drive across France and we'd stay in the rich lady's chalet in France.
Wow.
And we went there every summer for like 6-7 years for growing up, really. And we invented a game on the beach, me and my sister, where we would pretend we'd drown. Right? And we did it fairly regularly.
Yeah.
And it was near Saint-Tropez. There was a beach with some buoys quite far out. And we'd even not do it that often just so he would forget about the game.
God, jeez.
And we would swim out to a buoy,
Yeah.
make sure that he was sunbathing with mum,
Nice
turned
and
away long
relaxed.
enough.
Really relaxed.
Yeah, swim out, and then we would both duck behind the buoy. My sister would get in front of me like this, and I'd hold on to the sides of the buoy. And of course, from the beach, you can't see us at all. And we used to call the game hands on hips, because when he started panicking, he'd stand up. That was the first stage. We were like watching him, but he only started panicking when suddenly he went hands on hips. It started to get more animated.
Yeah.
God, it made me laugh so hard. We were behind that buoy, laughing our head off that we'd scared our dad into thinking we were dead.
Yeah. And the irony, if you're that far out at sea laughing, there's a fair chance you could
You're gonna
drown.
drown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cause of death, prank.
Yeah.
Did you ever manage to get him to go into the sea full Hasselhoff?
Well, no, you see. I mean, he may have gone ankle deep, but it would take a. He was very like me, my dad, in that he, didn't enjoy physical movement in his middle age very much. I think it would take an awful lot for him to go. I suppose I better go in. But I had those years were so magic, us as a family, because my dad travelled an awful lot and away a lot teaching, and he taught in America and sort of Nigeria and places. He was away for months at a time, but those months in France we were all always together.
And were you sort of, in my mind's eye, I sort of see you as a family having food together, chatting, the meals taking ages.
Yeah.
Am I right?
No, maybe not actually. I mean, yes. Yeah, we always had a real laugh, but I always thought